So how can government even start to address that particular angle of health in the rural areas?
Governments usually have health centers, and the health centers are supposed to be distributed in various communities according to distance to get there, according to population. That's the ideal, but it has never been so. And even when they are listed, when they are cited, the issue of quality of service rendered there, drugs there, doctors there. So if you have, first of all, you have to approach it from budgeting and budgetary provisions. So how many health centers do you need in a state or in a country? And remember that health centers are supposed to be under primary health care system, which ought to be under local governments and supported by state governments. So we have primary health care system, we have secondary health care system, where you have the hospitals, general hospitals, owned and handled by state governments. Then you have tertiary, which are research centers and teaching hospitals under federal. So now, local governments, what budgets do they have to build health centers, to support the community health officials that go there? Now, with the support of the primary health centers are linked to the state ministries of health. Now, when you put doctors to rural areas, you know many of them don't go. And if the areas are very far flung, like Kola, sometimes we visit Kola, we visit some of the deep areas in River State, the creek areas. Sometimes you see that, I remember the time they said from Kola, if a woman is about to put to bed, they have to bring her by boat to Degema, right? So when you get there, you see primary schools with where only one teacher will come to school, the primary school. Then you see a primary health center where the doctor will come once in a blue moon. But on the roster of the government, it is there. So what I'm saying is there are two levels of problems. Ability to build and locate health centers in all the communities in a state by the state government, supported by local governments. Ability and budgetary ability to build it is one. When it has been built, implementing the comprehensive implementation of the policy so that the healthcare delivery will now reach those communities. You will now discover that one is another ball game. So you are having two deficiency areas, budgetary deficiency and implementational deficiency. So it makes the rural areas not to have government healthcare centers that are efficient, giving room to quacks, native doctors, and private chemists. If you go to most rural areas, when they say, I went to see doctor, you know, remember, a chemist man, I am the doctor, or in certain areas. They mean, so when chemist shop owners, with that or if they are wonderful, they are school, they are proudly answering doctor in a rural community. It means that the real doctors are nowhere to be found. So why won't a pharmacist boy be answering doctor? So it causes constriction, it causes problem in healthcare delivery, and therefore only the rich can afford to go to the city and take the healthcare get attention. Then the ordinary person who doesn't have the kind of funds to get standard hospital will now make do with prayers and with the native doctor, and then exalted the chemist shop man, God doctor.
Wow. Now, apart from health, another thing mentioned here is education, and something that really stands out about the most, should I say, the most vulnerable when it comes to those who are poor in Nigerians. It's actually children that are mostly affected, right? They're saying that according to the report, actually, among other things, it said that 2/3 of children aged 0 to 17 are poor. And this accounted for 65% compared to 58.7% of adults. And they're saying that this gives rise to the sobering reality that over half of all poor people are children. So it's usually the children who are bearing the brunt of whatever it is the government is failing to do. And it's a big problem, actually. I feel it's a really, really big problem. So you've talked about health. Another area now is food insecurity. That's another angle. If we're looking at, the multidimensional poverty index, according to the survey, so they say that there are high deprivations in sanitation, time to healthcare, food insecurity, and housing. Food insecurity, linking that to what children need. Nutrition is one of the basic needs of children. All right, and then talking about how we can bring down.
It's breaking now. But go ahead, food insecurity.
Oh, okay, yes. So I'm talking about food insecurity, and of course, we're looking at solutions to poverty in Nigeria. And being that children are the most vulnerable, what can be done to ensure that children have access to food? Of course, before now, the government had this school feeding program that it did, and it seemed to be working. But what else can actually be done?
Oh, I'm struggling to hear now.
Did you hear me? Hello, Mr. Ignatius. Did you hear me? Hello? Okay, I think we're going to have to reconnect, all right? So when I get him back on the line, I would really want to find out what we can do to ensure that children have access to not just any kind of food, proper feeding. It's very, very important because nutrition is something that every child needs to survive. If they're going to survive, if they're going to thrive, if they're going to grow well, they need to eat. All right. UNICEF actually even said that 47% of Nigerian children live in households that spend less than 400 naira per day. 47% of children. And the NBS says 133 million Nigerians are poor. I remember this is more than half of the population. Of course, we're between 200 and 208 or something, but 218, can't remember. But of course, Nigeria, we have over 200 million people living in this country. So over half of the population who are multidimensionally poor. They cook with dung, cook with wood or charcoal rather than clean energy. They lack health care. They also lack food security and housing. So we're looking at workable solutions to poverty in Nigeria. All right, I'll be back so I can reconnect with my resource person, and then we'll get back to the conversation. But for you, though, the question I'm asking is what can we do? What can the government do to reduce the number of poor people currently in Nigeria? 133, that's an alarming rate. What can be done to reduce the number of poor people in Nigeria? So in other words, it's what can be done to increase the number of rich people in Nigeria. Do well to send me a message via WhatsApp to 0809 030 6416, 0809 030 6416. And then you can also Get on Facebook and leave a comment there. Nigeria Info 92.3 PH. All right, it's still hard facts on 92.3 Nigeria Info. I'll be right back. Analyst on 92.3 Nigeria Info. My name is Constance Mega. And, joining me right now in the studio is Mr. Ignatius Chukwu. Good afternoon, or good evening to you, sir.
Thank you very much again.
The network was not allowing us to have that conversation, but it's a good thing you're in the studio now.
Yes.
All right, so before we went on that break, I was asking a question about... what was that again? Food security for children, right? Because the NBS report said that children are the most vulnerable in the aspect of poor people. We have more children who are poor. And one of the things children actually need is food. And they reminded me of the school feeding program that the federal government embarked on some time ago. And so I'm looking at what else can actually be done to ensure that the average Nigerian child, especially those of them who are in the rural areas, get to feed properly every day.
Well, poverty, first of all, we have lost time, but we must know that poverty doesn't stand alone.
Yeah, definitely.
So it doesn't stand alone. A lot of things. Once you consider yourself, or once you are considered poor, several things work against you. That's why you are called poor. So it will not just be food. It can only not be education. Can't only be health. So it means that yes, food, health, other things can be interventions. In tackling poverty, first of all, you identify what poverty means in your own area, on your country, on your locality. So, and that will have to do with the standards of living of different societies.
Yeah.
So, but in our country, Nigeria, we first of all consider shelter, hunger, and disease, which means housing, food and food security, and that. So, why food is discussed as food as a supply and food as security is because once somebody is hungry, he can compromise security. He can accept money from an enemy of the compound or enemy of the community and sell information. So that's why when people are fighting, they're not just fighting for hunger, fighting about hunger to make you not to be hungry only, to fill your stomach. No, they know that hunger causes other things in a society. And it makes people to break the rules of the community. So that's why they fight hunger. So because of that, what countries try to do is to do everything, a collective action, micro and macro, large scale and small scale. So when you are doing school feeding, it's an intervention, but you are not actually tackling hunger. So it means, how do you, a company in Benin is called LAPO, Lift Above Poverty. How do you have a plethora of actions, programs, and projects to lift your people above poverty level? So that, and how do you do that? A quick measures will be what will increase income and earning capacities of citizens of a given society. So if earning is enhanced, empowerment is available, people will now budget for food, for shelter, for clothes, for health, and other things. From there, they begin to aspire to live well beyond survival. So we are even fighting for people to even achieve survival. But after you have done that, then they will now breathe well to now begin to smile at a lady, which was a luxury before, but now is a necessity, because you can breathe well, you can bathe, you can wear good clothes, and you think you deserve friends, you think you deserve other things, you need to have better phone or phone at all. So we are saying, when you are a country, you look at the facilities available to you as a country, as a state. What do I have? What do I fight against? If you have land, you are blessed. If you have rainfall equal with sunshine, and all the seasons of the year are available in your country, some people will consider you rich for that. If you have vegetation, rich soil that may not want plenty fertilizer, or even if at all you put fertilizer, you get result, people consider you rich. It is your ability. Then if you are blessed like Nigeria, while you have plenty things on the surface, timber, greenery, trees, do you know, okay, have you asked yourself one question? Every time I ask myself, what was it that God promised the Israelites? A land flowing with milk and honey. Is it Palmangate and cowbell that was the milk? No. What God called milk and honey was forest. Now, in Nigeria, in parts of Cross River and Akwa Ibom, there are places you go. All those lorries coming with okazi. I hope you know that nobody planted them. So if you are a country and you have it is of late we started planting pantry in my area. You are born and God had given you palm oil plantation, right? Banana on banana, plantain. Plantations are running. You go to Kigwe area, cashew will be running two sides of the story. So a country where God had already planted many things before you were born. What can be a land? What can be bigger than a land flowing with milk and honey? Timber. All the people who are cutting Iroko in my town, they didn't plant it because the generation that planted Iroko will not be the generation that will harvest it. So if you are born and so many things have been planted by nature for you, all you need to do is harvest and manage them well. Then under the same soil, we now begin to see crude oil, see all manner of what we call solid minerals. What I'm saying is, if those things have been provided by nature, it is your development of those resources that will now lift your people above poverty. But if you don't do so, you will end up, what you fail to do at development level, you will now be forced to be doing intervention. So I'm trying to say intervention is what you do to arrest the immediate situation, but that's not a solution.
And that's what the government has been doing
intervention.
Over time with all those programs. But then what approach should government take to actually tackle poverty?
Well, as I said, once poverty is on you, what did India do? What did the countries that poverty? India had 630 million persons looking at them hungry, and they push it to 270 million now. And the whole world is clapping for them. So while you are doing intervention, which I said is to stop people from dying now, intervention doesn't make anybody rich. It's like IDP. So if you are displaced and they put you in a camp and be giving you food, they have not solved your problem. The problem will be until you tackle that erosion. If it is a terrorism, until you make the forest ready again, whatever you are giving them will not make them rich. And therefore,
flooding.
If it's flooding, until it is tackled.
The water receives.
And when people now, it is not, so you see, you have intervention for them to be alive. Then you have to do resettlement, which is also not making them rich. See, level 1 will consume billions of naira. You are not making anybody rich. You are not stopping anybody from being poor. Level 2 will also be to resettle them. You are not making them rich. It is the level 3 that if they have come home now and they now have home, and you have repeated their schools, are their farms farmable? The businesses that were swallowed by, when you revive them, that they will now begin to do regeneration and growth, and the economy will boom again. And therefore, so know when you are spending for regeneration, know when you are doing intervention. So based on that, what governments do is they use their present income to do intervention so that people don't die. Because if the people you want to help die before the help comes, they won't believe that you actually wanted to help them. So intervention is to make people not to die. Then they now take loan to big long-term economic facilities, which is now to make them not to be poor tomorrow. So while today they are eating the fruit today, but you are planting seed that they will eat tomorrow, so that you don't have to feed them forever.
Wow.
Which means things like somebody that is in secondary school, what handwork is he learning? What entrepreneurship are you giving them? So when they leave school after NYC, they don't become dependent. So you see, you use current budget income, your current income, federal allocation, and IGR. You use it to do intervention. If you are lucky to have a percentage left, use it to do long-term planning, but which is things like agri extension programs, things like entrepreneurship for tomorrow, things like industrial centers and zones where you entice investors to come in, massive investment in agriculture, both at primary level, processing level, storage level, export level. So these are the things that will be for tomorrow. Unfortunately, these things don't occur to us. We are so busy trying to win election, and we are busy trying to win the next 2 other elections.
Yeah, while you were talking, it just reminded me that some of those programs, we've heard the minister of, what's her name now? The humanitarian woman, yes. Her picture always comes to mind whenever I hear 5,000 naira, And usually you will see the captions on the papers, we're lifting whatever million Nigerians out of poverty and we're giving them money. And then the question goes, who are these people you are giving this money? Will the money you are giving them really lift them out of poverty? So it also begs the question, the people who are in government, the people who are advising our leaders, do they really know what it means to lift people out of poverty?
I don't think first of all, poverty is difficult to define. If you say a man from Anambra State or a man from Rivers Bayelsa Delta, if you make him Minister of Humanitarian whatever affairs, he will be thinking of 2 million per. That is the idea of getting out of poverty.
Yeah.
But there is a region you can come from, and you will think that I gave him 5,000. So probably in their own zone, So you see, the definition of a poor person in one geographical zone may not be exactly the same. So if you return from, say, you traveled abroad or you come back in the Niger Delta, and your boys from your area come, say, senior man, you're welcome, and you want to give them handout. If they open their palms and they're seeing 5,000, they feel insulted, right? So, but there's a region where if you share 5,000, they'll be very grateful. So don't blame them. The problem comes when you use the mentality of one region to aggregate for all of us. God help you.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Ignatius. Let's get to the phone lines and, of course, get to the messages. All right. We're discussing workable solutions to ending poverty in Nigeria. What can be done? That's what I'm asking. How can we reduce the number of poor people in Nigeria? And of course, Mr. Ignatius says, yes, it's possible to reduce the number of poor people in a country. So what do you think the government and the people in Nigeria can actually do to ensure that the number of poor people in Nigeria reduces? 133 million is a number that is too much. That's a lot of people poor. The number to call is 070-0923-0923, 070-0923-0923, or send a message via WhatsApp to 0809-030-6416, 0809-030-6416. We have Okonkwo from Rumokuta. Hello, Okonkwo.
Yeah, good evening, sister.
Good evening.
I want to go directly to your question. What are we to do in Nigeria to reduce the level of poor people?
Yes.
Yes, let us ask the German government what they did and the British government. They produce caterpillars and cranes. They produce trains, aircraft. They produce cars of different types. They produce televisions and the radio, dryers and clippers, and many other things because they have companies in their country. They have so employed their people that other people from other countries also go to their countries for employment for a different companies. Then finally, they have 24-hour daily life. And those that have their own private businesses, they are busy doing their businesses and making money.
All right.
If we can do that here, those that use generator and spend 200,000 to 300,000 naira to buy fuel and the diesel every week, if they save that money for 1 year, there will be no poverty in this country. Let Nigeria do the same thing.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, we have Daniel from Imo Gates. Hello, Daniel.
Thank you very much, Chinke Daniel Imo Gate Ozako. My take on this issue is that I don't know how they come about this figure. Like the guest said, I don't know, actually. Because for me, I think that 100 and something thousand million, I am among them. And you see, Ghana, in late 70s and 80s, they were not participating in any sporting event, meaning that they were poor. But what are we seeing today? If actually this number is correct, what those that are governing us, what are they doing to reduce it? Because you see them living flamboyant lifestyle, driving on the biggest SUV, doing one thing or the other. But this number of the people are very poor, can fit 2 square meters a day, because I know it is those that belong to this class, which I am one of them. So our leaders, I don't know. It is just for them alone and for them.
Okay, Daniel. Daniel, you're not giving us solutions. Daniel, you're still pointing out the obvious. We're asking for solutions, actually.
Solutions. Okay. Solutions now is that those that are governing us living flamboyant style, like I told you, Ghana wasn't participating in any sports competition. They have to reduce their lifestyle, like stopping us in any other competitions and every other thing, showing us actually that we are poor.
All right. Thank you very much for calling, Daniel. The last caller mentioned something. I hope I've not forgotten. Yes, power. He mentioned power. And that's been one of the biggest problems in Nigeria is this either epileptic power supply or no power supply at all in some areas. And it has actually been said that if there is steady power supply in Nigeria, a lot of things would actually start working business-wise. What's your take?
It's taken for granted that if you have power, you're empowered. But you see, where we are in Nigeria, you see, what gets me confused is when you say for us to escape poverty or to eradicate poverty, this is what we should do. You say we should industrialize. The plan for industrialization and the plan and the amount and the time needed, there's no person whose tenure is 4 years or 8 years. You see, you can do it. So you are making recommendations that are a mirage. I think where we are is that the number one problem we have now is insecurity.
Yeah.
Which has made the land that should produce, because I was going to say, if we tackle insecurity, I've been calling for National Security Emergency Security Summit, where we integrate the 3 tiers of government into a security system that will bottom up. It's a long analysis. Okay. I've been calling for it. Until we do it, say the federal government is to shoot everybody and get security. It doesn't give you security. And it will not be now. If all of us don't put effort together, then if I'm putting effort, at what level? So there should be community to suburban to urban to national. Who is in charge of each level? If you listen to the fight against Boko Haram for the past 10 years, the original people fighting Boko Haram then, they were the vigilantes, civilian JTF.
Yeah,
they were more effective. And when they now integrated with the armed forces, so they will sniff out those people in the forest, then the armed forces will catch them on the road. So integration is what can pay off. But this, let us not waste time. I say, if the forest that is supposed to yield, we need to do massive agriculture, we need to do industrialization, but the forest that will give you agriculture has been captured by other forces. You don't farm in the city, but the forest now has become a warehouse for evil. So until we recapture, until we tackle security, let's stop talking about poverty, because it will be more and more. And I want to warn that 103 million is not the number of poor people, it's the number of enemies you have. If we are 210 and 103 are poor, we continue to think that your enemy is the man from Fulani. Fulani will think is the man from Igbo. Igbo will think is Yoruba. Before your enemy from Ogun State will come and attack you in Emoha, your enemy at home is your number one, your immediate problem. Which means the poor man in Emoha, the poor man in Mbise, the poor man in Zaria is a bigger threat to the big man in Zaria. So 103 million people versus the remaining 100 million people. That's what we should look at. When we say poor people, we distribute our minds to faraway places. Yeah. The man next door that is hungry is your number one immediate threat. Let us get it right. So the statistics is trying to show that we have 103 million angry, hungry people that are your immediate enemies, whether they are Igbo, Yoruba, or Hausa.
Wow, that's incredible. Promise from Romodoma, are you still there? Oh, wow. Apologies there, Promise. Very quickly, I have a message here on WhatsApp. This person is asking, what happened to the National Poverty Eradication Program, NAPEP, established in 2001 by the OBJ administration? Again, did I hear you say the school feeding program is working? Maybe it works in your village. No, I didn't say that. Your name is Ben. Ben, did I say it's working? I actually said it's not working.
You said it exists, not that it's working or not working.
Because I know that what I have even on my script is that the intervention programs of the government are not really working. So what should the government do to really tackle poverty in Nigeria? All right, this person says, Nigeria is a country so blessed with natural resource endowments, but successive governments have failed to tap these resources to the fullest to eradicate poverty.
That is it.
And he says we must do everything as a country to reduce population to optimum size, venture into mechanized agriculture, availability of power, industrialization, and so much more. Okay, time has really caught up with us. We have commercials that will run till 5. Mr. Ignatius Chukwu, I must really thank you for your time, though short, physically, but we started while we were on the phone. Thank you very much for being here this evening.
Thank you.
All right. Well, the show continues after the news at 5 p.m. We'll be talking about what constitutes an anti-party activity. Stay tuned.
Now we there, yeah. Now we there.